Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Redline channel. As you can see, today is another beautiful spring day here in the DC area, and for this edition of Redline vlog style videos, I've got two rather unlikely competitors, a 2020 Subaru Outback XT and a 2020 Volvo V60 Cross Country. Now obviously, one of them is a mainstream brand, the other one is a luxury brand, so it kind of comes back to a pretty well-known question of, should you buy a luxury brand or should you buy a mainstream brand? Now, of course, a lot of you probably know this is a car that I personally own. My spouse drives it every day. It's his daily driver. So to help me review these two cars in an objective matter, I brought along a friend of mine who's also my associate editor, Keith, who actually has never driven either one of these cars. He's a huge car guy, but he's never driven either one of these. So we're gonna do a comparison and we're gonna figure out, is the Volvo actually worth the extra $10,000, $15,000 over the Subaru? So the Subaru Outback and the Volvo V60 are probably cross-shopped more often than you think, because a lot of people would associate the Volvo as something that you would probably want to upgrade to from the Subaru, since Subaru isn't typically known for being luxury. They're a mainstream brand. And Keith, this is your first time seeing the two cars side by side. Yeah. What do you think of the styling of these two things? Because, I mean, obviously, Subaru likes to call this thing more of an SUV. Well, we all know that's a wagon. I mean, they're both wagons, but what do you think is the better looking?
They both seem like a wagon. I mean, I understand why that's a little more SUV-like, because it sits up a little higher. But I like the styling of both. I think they're both fairly sporty and fun. And
which one do you think is the one you'd probably grab the keys for, though? Just looking at them side by side in your driveway.
Looking at them side by side.
Yeah.
From the outside and the front, I would say the Volvo. Okay.
So this one looks classier, sportier, you think?
Yeah, a little bit. It's lower, yeah.
Okay, it's definitely lower. This is about 6 inches lower versus the Subaru, and you can clearly tell the difference in height between these two. Although,
yeah, look at the ground clearance.
Well, how much more? What do you think the ground clearance is? So I'll tell you, this one has 8.7 inches of ground clearance. What do you think the Volvo has?
I would say, I don't know, 5.5, 6. I don't know.
You know, that is an excellent guess. Volvo actually says they've raised this car by 2.6 inches versus the regular V60. It has 8.3 inches of ground clearance, if you can believe it.
No.
I'm serious. This has 8.3 inches. Yes.
No way. It really is. Subaru made it look higher, I think.
Yeah, well, this one has a little more ground clearance, but this is the one that looks like you could probably take it off-roading. Yeah. Like, versus the Volvo, you could. Volvo's
too pretty.
It's too pretty.
To get it all muddy. It's a little too expensive for that, too.
But, like, right off the bat, what do you think of the interior of this car? Does it feel... So this one's $57,000. Does it feel like a $57,000 car?
In all honesty, I don't think it feels like it's worth quite that much.
What do you feel in here doesn't look like a $60,000 car almost?
Oddly enough, the plastic along the center console here, it feels kind of chintzy to me, like
it does feel a little plasticky and thin.
And it doesn't have any texture, it's just smooth.
So remember, the V60 or S60 is technically their lower end model. It's not like the 40 series, but the 60s like aren't quite as nice as the 90s series, which the 90s, like the XC90 for example, really world-class interior. Yes. The one thing that Volvo does give you is a real leather stitch dash, and we'll hop into the Subaru right after. It also smells interesting in here. Like when I first got in this car, it has that typical Volvo leather smell. Yeah. But it also had a rather unpleasant smell as well. But
yeah, it's almost like a cleaner or a chemical.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. We'll talk about the Subaru's interior, how it feels. The wood in here though is beautiful. This is part of like a Cross Country Pro package that gives you this real wood. I like the wood a lot with this beige two-tone interior. I think it looks good. The Bowers & Wilkins sound system is $4,000 extra, and I have to say it looks cool with the metal speaker covers.
I love that part.
Or you could also just get a Harman Kardon for $800. Which probably doesn't sound as good, but still sounds good.
Yeah, I'm sure it's still half decent.
Yeah, but basically this car is expensive because that stereo system is $4,000, which some of you may not think it's worth the money. So what do you think of the screen here? This does have Apple CarPlay.
The screen looks good, it has good resolution. It's looking a little smaller, I think. I mean, it's really not that small, but after, you know, driving Teslas and stuff, it's starting to look a little on the smaller side.
Yeah, so this is their 9-inch Sensus Connect infotainment system.
Yeah.
Volvo started doing this back in 2016. It does look a little small, because everyone's going to a 12-inch display, so I would expect Volvo to eventually start making this larger. It also is a little laggy for my taste, but it is much quicker versus 4 years ago when this thing first came out.
The frame rate looks pretty good.
Yeah, this looks really clear. It's like the equivalent of looking at an iPhone 10. It's very crystal clear resolution, because we'll hop into the Subaru afterwards. We'll compare, but let's start with the Volvo, as we said earlier, because I want you to set your expectations high for driving. So let's go ahead and start out on this thing.
Let's do it.
So you have never driven a Volvo, a new Volvo,
Never.
correct?
This is my first time.
And here I thought that you drove one when we were in at one of our AVA events.
No, actually, yeah, I didn't.
Okay, that's right. We had the XC90 there, but I don't think you drove it.
No.
That's right. That was one car that you did not get a chance to drive. So this is probably, go left here. This is actually the newest car in Volvo's lineup. This is all new for 2020. There was no cross-country version of the V60 last year in 2019.
Okay.
The 2018 model dated back to 2010. That's how old it was. It was in desperate need of a replacement. So this is now riding on their scalable product architecture that first debuted on the XC90, and it's a very flexible platform. They can shrink it, stretch it. So now it's on this car, which is one of their smaller cars. And compared to the regular V60, it's about 2.6 inches taller. Or it has more ground clearance. Does it feel like you're sitting up high?
I can tell it's sitting up a little bit, but it doesn't feel like that much ground clearance.
So it feels like you're driving a regular car.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it does. Which is a good thing.
Yeah, because a lot of people who want a wagon, they want it to drive like a wagon, like a car. That's the purpose of buying a wagon, is because
the anti-SUV.
Exactly, and that's what makes Volvo super cool, is that they're still investing in wagons. Because chances are, if you look up the word wagon in the dictionary, Volvo might show up there, because Volvo is just really known for building wagons.
I love wagons. I wish they would sell better.
Yeah, it's those Americans, we just hate wagons. We're very anti-wagon, which is why Subaru says wagon is a dirty word and you should call the Outback an SUV, even though it's not an SUV, it's a wagon. Underneath the hood, they both have turbocharged engines, but in true mainstream style, the Subaru has a prop rod that holds up its hood, whereas the Volvo is a luxury branded vehicle, so it has struts that actually hold up the hood, and Volvo gives you the ability to open up the hood enormously so you can get underneath there, which some of you may throw in a joke and say, well, Volvo's always required more maintenance, so it's a good thing that they throw in this feature. Now, you'd be surprised to hear that the Subaru is actually the more powerful model. However, that is an optional engine that you get in the Subaru. That particular one there is the XT version. It has the 2.4 liter direct injection Subaru Boxer flat 4-cylinder engine. It makes 260 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. It all goes out through a Lineartronic CVT. It's a unique CVT. It's a high torque CVT, which Subaru says. You'll be able to tow a maximum of 3,500 pounds on this one. Fuel economy is rated at 23 in the city, 30 on the highway. Regular gas is actually the recommended fuel. The Outback weighs a tick under 4,000 pounds. You'll get to 60 in around 6.5 seconds. Volvo only offers one engine choice in the V60 cross country. It's the T5, so the base 2-liter turbocharged engine, so it's a smaller engine. It makes 250 horsepower, so 10 less than the Subaru, and about 258 pound-feet of torque. It all goes out through a conventional 8-speed automatic transmission. It's developed by Aisin, so some of you who prefer traditional stepped automatic may prefer this. Volvo does not recommend towing in this vehicle, and despite this having a regular automatic with gears, this is rated at worst fuel economy, 22 in the city, 31 on the highway, and premium is recommended. So remember, it's a luxury brand. You do have to fill this up with premium to get the most performance. As this one sits, it weighs about the same as the Subaru, actually, a little over 4,000 pounds. They're within 100 pounds of each other. Yes, and originally you said that you prefer this because it has an 8-speed auto.
Yeah, and I mean, so far it's shifting smoothly and quickly. It seems half decent.
And
we'll really got a chance to step on it.
Yes, I'll have you step on it and give it the beans and see what you think. But in terms of comfort, what do you think of the ride quality and the seats?
It's very comfortable, very quiet, super smooth. It's an easy car to drive. Like, you could drive, I feel like, hours and be comfortable in this without like aches and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's what Volvo is really known for. They're known for excellent seats, high safety, luxury. Like that's really what Volvo's all about. So it checks all the right boxes for what, you know, people expect a Volvo to be.
So one thing I have to mention about the engine that I don't particularly care for is the sound.
Yeah, it's a little
raspy.
Yeah.
Like unrefined.
And I didn't say a word. He just came to that conclusion on his own.
Well, I just stepped on the gas a little harder, and it just wasn't very pleasant. Like cruising along, yeah, it's fine, but it gets a little noisy.
So
not the good noise.
Right. So Volvo used to have like a 5-cylinder and a 6-cylinder. That all went away back in 2016, really, replaced with these 2-liters. But I'll let you step on in here, see what you think.
It's okay. It's smooth.
It's smooth. What did you think of the noise there as the tach swung a little higher in the rev range?
Not my favorite.
Okay.
Not my favorite.
So why don't you put your foot down here, see what the response is like for the 8-speed?
I don't know. Now it seems a little sluggish.
Okay, and you have it in dynamic mode right now.
Yes, so it should be as quick as it goes.
So yeah, Volvo says 0 to 60 in like almost 8 seconds for this thing. It's like 7.9. Does it feel right about there?
I think so.
Which is a little sluggish for a luxury wagon.
Yeah, when you're paying this much money, I feel like you also want to have a little bit of fun too.
Right, so the T6 engine that was available last year would dash to 60 in around 5.5 seconds. So it's a shame.
See, that's great.
It is a shame. Now, the T6 motor was about $3,500 more, but I would pay it.
Oh, that's
all day
so
long.
worth it.
I would pay it all day long, because when you buy a luxury brand, you expect more. Now, granted, this car, we're saying that it's sluggish because we have lead foots. We're enthusiasts. We like to go fast.
Yeah.
So because these are 2 wagons, we can't not show you guys the trunk capacity. First, the Subaru, which doesn't always open when you want to push it. Now, Keith, seeing the 2 side by side, obviously the Subaru has about 20 more cubic feet of space, but what are your thoughts on which one actually looks more usable?
Do you have a dog? No.
Yeah, I would hesitate to put a dog in the trunk of this car.
Yeah.
It's also noticeably lower, and there's noticeably less space. This has around 25, that has around 34 cubic feet space, about 10 less. The Volvo has a neat little trick though. There's a cool little divider there, so your groceries won't roll around.
That's super handy.
And whatnot. And it's also very sturdy. Like it actually stays in place very well.
Yeah,
if you open this up, Volvo gives you a temporary spare tire. Versus the Subaru, ours actually came with all these mats protection. So we had this protection here. You can see we put our dog in here. There's a nice little all-weather mat. And then underneath here, you also get a spare tire underneath there with a jack and such, but not quite as much like the storage. I like the divider that the Volvo gives you.
Really depends on your lifestyle. Like this one seems like it's more rugged for sure, a little bit more usable. It's just more practical overall, but this is also super practical. You got this huge opening compared to like a sedan.
And look at the metal scuff plate that they put here, so that's nice. But
it's a nice accent.
But they should have put something here too, because look, there's already a scratch on that bumper over there.
Poor baby.
It's a press car, it lives a hard life.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like for the older crowd, this car would be perfect. Like,
Ooh.
Not old, not in a bad way. Just, I mean, like if I was, you know, maybe in my 40s or 50s, this would be a great car. I would really, really enjoy it. But for right now, I want something a little more sporty. So that doesn't mean necessarily that there's anything wrong with this car. It's just...
So the 10-year-older Keith would like this car?
I think so, yes. I could see myself in this.
The rundown, very comfortable, smooth, refined, quiet, luxurious feeling, but a little too boring, a little too underpowered.
Too boring, yeah.
A little too underpowered. Not sporty, but not completely soft.
Yeah.
So it's a really great all-around car. So it's pretty
medium.
I think that happy medium is why, you know, people do buy these things. And compared to the V90, this outsells it 4-to-1, the V60, which the V90 is basically this car, same platform, but 6 inches longer. But not that much more legroom in the back. This one here has around 35 inches of legroom. It's decent. So the Volvo has a smaller back seat, clearly, because this is a smaller vehicle. And getting back here, there is a fairly large hump that comes out here. So if you actually need to put 3 people across, I wouldn't recommend to do it in the Volvo as much. Now there's about 35 inches of legroom back here, which is pretty good in terms of numbers for a compact size station wagon. You have 3-level heated seats, 4-zone automatic climate control. So that feature alone is very unique, and it reminds you that you got a luxury wagon. Above me, there's this massive panoramic sunroof, which lets in a lot of light. It also has this nice tinted glass area, so it won't bake you if you have the sunshade open. And then over here, you have a nice armrest that folds down, some storage, pop-out cup holders as well. But let me hop into the back of the Subaru, because the Subaru makes the Volvo look very cramped on the inside, because as I get into the back of the Subaru, first of all, the opening is much larger. Because it's higher, it's easier to get into this vehicle. And the floor has a hump here. However, the hump is not quite as tall as what you get in the Volvo, and overall space back here is around 39 inches of legroom. So 4 more inches of legroom and a lot more headroom as well. The interior does feel a little bit more dark because Subaru doesn't offer a panoramic sunroof, but if you actually need to put adults back here or a car seat, you're gonna wanna choose the Outback. The Subaru has about 4 more inches of legroom in the back.
Wow.
Which is what Americans really, really like. So the Volvo, pleasant car at $57,000. It seems a little pricey for the power that you get, but it does feel like it's in the luxury space. It belongs in the luxury space for sure. Let's hop into the Subaru though, now that we've set our expectations a little higher, and see what your thoughts are on that.
All right. I like this. I like this better. Definitely. I like the color scheme better. Yeah. Wait, is it recording now?
It is recording. Oh. Yes, so let's go. Now we've hopped into the $40,000 Subaru. It's 16 grand less than the Volvo.
It's a big chunk of money.
Now this is the top touring trim. So it's got the Napa brown leather. This brown leather is only what comes on the touring grade. You also get heated and cooled seats. You get a front camera system. And the interior in here, as you can see, has stitching. Now, I think the stitching here is real. What do you think of the stitching on the dash? Do you think this is real or fake? Because it's real in the Volvo.
It looks real to me.
It looks real and it's soft. It feels real. It's like the same leather that's on the seats.
Yeah.
However, Alex Dykes from Alex and Autos, if you're watching this, Alex, he claims this is fake. So we were having this little low-key argument about it. I'm gonna have to ask Subaru to confirm.
I think it could be real.
So I think the leather here on the black part of the dash, that looks fake. But
it still looks good, but it looks fake.
I think this looks real. But I mean, obviously, the Subaru's interior has come a long way.
It has.
Subarus have really always had cheap interiors, and this thing really has stepped it up. Now, of course, those Volvo had real leather on the dash here. This is just a soft touch plastic.
But I think that's okay, because I mean, how often do you really touch your dashboard?
That's true. That is true. Instead, they put it over here. The one feature that this car has over the Volvo is cooled seats. The Volvo over there does not have cooled seats because it's missing a luxury package for $2,200, which will roll in massaging seats. But that one's missing it. So it could be 60 grand, that one.
Oh my gosh.
But we got our cooled seats. Now, this screen here, does it look like the Volvo's at all to you?
It's very similar, but it's bigger.
Yes, so this is 11.6 inches, so almost 3 inches. That's a big difference.
Yeah, it doesn't look quite as clean. Like the contrast ratio isn't quite up to par like the Volvo, but the big screen is really nice. That's like the perfect size screen. Resolution looks okay.
And it does come with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, just like the Volvo. Now, the one thing that bothers me about the Subaru screen is when you have the CarPlay plugged in, it takes up a really small amount of the real estate on the screen. Now, the Volvo does the same thing. The Volvo puts the Apple CarPlay down here, and it's roughly this size as well.
Okay, so it's the same.
It's the same for the most part, but I am noticing there's a fair amount of glare on the screen.
I see that.
And the Subaru. So the Volvo screen is like looking at an iPhone 10, while this is like looking at it like an iPhone 6 or 7. It's like a generation behind in terms of brightness. So I don't know why Subaru was kind of cutting corners there. I think the screen resolution could be much better. There's also a front camera, so when you put the front, no 360 camera, just a front camera and a back camera.
It's also very grainy.
Small and grainy. So there's one area where Volvo is really showing they're flexing their muscles. Like they're a luxury brand. They can put a little more money into the infotainment system.
But not cooled seats.
Not cooled seats. You have to pay extra for it. You have to, which also for that car, you have to pay extra for adaptive cruise control. Subaru's eyesight is standard on even the base trim in this car, and that starts at $26,000.
See, that's like a must-have feature.
Right, and that's why a lot of mainstream brands are getting really nice. It's really hard to justify going to a luxury brand because the luxury brands make you pay extra for everything, and it's very frustrating in that regard. The Volvo also is missing a wireless phone charger. The Subaru has it. Now this is an extra. It's like $200 extra, but at least it gives you that. The Volvo, it does not offer it. I don't think it's a dealer installed accessory either. And such. But what do you think of the seats in this car? Because
they're comfortable.
Yeah, because Volvo is known for their comfortable seats, but this car also has really cushy seats.
I don't think it's quite as comfortable as the Volvo, but I mean, it's also less cushy of a car. Like, it feels sportier in here.
Sportier, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Inside, it feels sportier in here. Like, just the look, the steering wheel, everything feels sportier.
And you probably notice you're sitting up higher in this car too, right?
Yeah, I can definitely tell we're sitting a little higher.
Yeah, that's why they call this an SUV. Wagon's a dirty word in Subaru's vocabulary. But
why? It's a good word.
But let's take this out on the road,
Okay.
see how this drives. Remember, this is the more powerful car. 10 more horsepower and about 20 more foot-pounds of torque. It weighs about the same. They're like within 100 pounds.
I really like the visibility in this car.
That's always been a Subaru thing, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I mean, they have small pillars, really easy to see.
And then they have this little extra window there to help you see around this A-pillar, which is on the tiny side for a modern car.
Yeah.
So compared to the Volvo, how does the steering feel in this car?
The steering feels a little bit like tighter.
Okay.
Like, I don't have to. I can't think of what's it called. The steering ratio. Like,
it feels a little quicker.
Yeah, it's a quicker steering ratio.
Okay.
Sure.
And we're also going to eventually give it the beans because Keith has not driven this new powertrain, the new turbocharged engine with the CVT combination. And Subaru says its 0 to 60 is like around 6.5 seconds.
That's not too bad. I mean, the CVT just around town right now just feels like a traditional, you know.
Yeah, it kind of just swaps.
Automatic.
And that's the thing is when this car actually has paddles, which the Volvo does not have paddles. Hilarious.
That's
the
ironic.
Volvo with its 8-speed torque converter automatic doesn't have paddle shifters, and the CVT Subaru does. Now, Subaru says with the paddles it has 8 pre-selected gears, ratios that mimics gears and such. And you feel free to play with them later on, but it's kind of funny how the more expensive luxury car is missing the paddles.
It's a CVT, but it had some get up and go. That felt good.
You could feel the turbo kick in for this thing.
Could. Yeah.
Which it kind of surprised you, and that was genuinely Keith's first time flooring this car and feeling the turbo kick in, and it produces a nice shove.
Yeah,
it's kind of a sleeper. You don't expect this thing to drive to be as quick accelerating.
Yeah, like there's. What was that?
So that's part of the, ignore that. Okay. So that's part of the eyesight system. It can be a little paranoid at times.
Okay, calm down.
But so this car also has this feature right here in this little eyebrow portion. There's a camera that's watching your face, and it knows when you're not looking at the road, and it'll actually yell at you to keep your eyes back on the road.
Jeez.
That's something that the Volvo does not have. And that's Volvo for their safety and whatnot. Now, I will say Volvo's adaptive cruise control is better than Subaru's, but at least the Subaru's is standard.
Yeah.
It's not optional as part of an advanced package for $2,500 that I have to add for the Volvo that one had.
Yeah, that's a great value aspect, once again, with the Subaru.
But I want you to put your foot down here, test the responsiveness of it.
A little bit of lag. It feels good though once you get going. We're moving, yeah.
And that's hilarious that we're in the cheaper car that looks even more like a soccer mom mobile.
Yeah, it
and
does.
this thing is quick.
It is. This is more engaging to drive, which I didn't expect to say, but
What'd you think of the noise the engine makes also?
once again, it's not my favorite.
Right.
But it sounds better than the Volvo did.
It sounds better than the Volvo.
It does. It sounds more, well, in the sense that
It's smoother?
smoother, more refined.
Okay.
Hey, Subi. Oh, shit. Okay, this is more fun than I thought. What the heck?
Go ahead and pass this truck, see what it can do.
Passing power. Yeah. All right.
And as you can see, it mimics gear ratios when you start
speeding. It felt like a real automatic. For a CVT, it's okay. I still don't really care for them. I'd much rather have traditional automatic or stick shift.
But compared to the 8-speed auto in the Volvo, which do you feel works for you more? Like powertrain combination between the two cars?
That's kind of tough because the Volvo actually seemed a little bit laggy at times. Especially from gear to gear, I felt a lot of hesitation, and I didn't care for that too much. You didn't feel that in this, but you can still tell it's a CVT. So. I
mean, the reason why enthusiasts don't like CVTs is the noise. The droniness of it, how it kind of holds it. Now, this new generation, Subaru's Lineartronic is one of the better ones. It mimics shifts, which actually lowers the it makes the car slower, 0 to 60. It really would be faster if it didn't mimic the shifts, but it makes it feel a lot more like a traditional automatic. This CVT is just really well matched to this engine. Like, even though we hate CVTs and such, but you can't deny when you put your foot down, it actually works. Yeah, you know, there's a reason why Subaru sells almost 200,000 of these in America every year. It is literally the best-selling station wagon ever.
Yeah.
Like, ever.
The wagon word.
Yes, the wagon. Now, do you still feel like you're driving a station wagon in this thing? Or does it feel more like a crossover?
No, it feels like a wagon to me.
Yeah, I mean, you just feel like a wagon that's had a little, you know, it's been raised up. It has more ground clearance, it sits up higher, which is what people in America really want. They appreciate how it sits up higher.
Yeah.
It's really quiet, it's really fine. You can see out of this really well. It has all the safety tech. Does this car feel roomier than the Volvo as well?
I think up front it does. The way the dash is laid out, it's less like in your face.
So it's a lower dash.
Yeah, it's a little bit less cluttered, which that's what I prefer. But yeah, it feels a little bit roomier in here.
Yeah, especially in the back seat. This car has 4 more inches of legroom back there. So if you've got tall friends or, you know, tall kids that have to go in the back seat, this also has way more cargo capacity, 75 cubic feet total versus the 50 that you get in the Volvo. So bigger car. This thing is about 3 inches bigger than the Volvo, but it doesn't feel that much bigger when you're driving it. It actually, to me, just drives really easy. This is a mid-size wagon versus the Volvo is more of a compact wagon.
It's making me smile. That's a good thing.
So the Subaru has a 12-speaker Harman Kardon sound system versus the 14-speaker 1000-watt Bowers & Wilkins. I want to hear what you think of the Subaru sound system.
Okay.
And Keith is an audiophile. He's really snobby when it comes to speakers.
I'm picky.
So obviously we had to cut out the music part because copyright stuff, but what do you think of the sound system of this Harman Kardon?
I can't believe it's a Subaru.
Well, because Subarus have always had really crappy sound systems.
They have, yeah. They were bad.
So yeah, so to get the Harman, you have to at least go for the limited trim. The limited and Tourings will have it. The one that I tried in the Onyx edition has the Subaru 6-speaker one, and it's a throwaway. I want you to see what the CarPlay looks like. You can see it's the same size, but it actually looks
so
a lot
better.
It looks a lot clearer here because it's not so disproportionate. Like the CarPlay takes up half the screen, and you can still like open up other features and whatnot while the CarPlay is.
The screen is so much brighter too.
It is, and that's where Volvo really is flexing their muscles here, that they're a luxury brand. And you know, Subaru could do this. I feel like they could easily do this.
They could.
But it is noticeably smaller, the screen.
Being back in the Volvo, though, back to the interior, this feels a lot smaller.
Okay.
Like, now that I'm really looking at it.
There's less headroom in here.
Yeah, it feels more crowded. But not, like, overly crowded, just...
Cozy.
Yeah.
A little more cozy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's try this same song and see how it sounds with the $4,000 Bowers & Wilkins.
Cha-ching. is a great sound system. Is it worth how much? $4,000?
Four grand. It better damn sound good for $4 grand though.
And it does.
It does.
It really does.
Now, obviously, it sounds better than the Harman, but could you live with the Harman system in the Subaru?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the one.
Because the Volvo also offers a Harman for $800. It has 2 less speakers than this.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how that compares to.
Right.
You know.
But the Bowers is lovely. So if you're an audiophile and you don't mind spending $4 grand, get the Bowers. All right, so now that we've had a chance to drive both the Volvo and the Subaru back to back, and this is Keith's first time driving the 2 cars back to back, his very first impressions, I'm gonna ask you the $1 million question. Keith, which one would you rather grab the keys for? Let's leave money out of it for now.
Okay. Oh. The sound system got me on this one.
Oh, okay.
Money's if we're not talking money.
We're not talking money, you like
money.
the sound system in
I
that
like the
one.
Volvo. Yeah.
So you would personally grab the keys for this just because of the sound system?
Just because of the sound system.
Okay, so if we're factoring in the money again at 57 and 40.
With the money, definitely this one.
So this one you like it more because it's faster, a little more fun to drive. It did put a smile on your face more often.
I would enjoy driving this one more overall.
Which surprised me because you would not think that the Subaru would put a bigger smile on your face than the Volvo. But the sound system on that one got you. But take away that Bowers & Wilkins sound system and it's a $50,000 wagon, you'd still take the Subaru.
Yeah, I know.
So that's a big deal.
That's a lot.
That you have to get for the sound system to make this one your choice.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people out there who really demand and appreciate a good sounding audio system, so keep that in mind. The Volvo does offer features like massaging seats, cooled seats, but you have to pay extra for it, versus the Subaru gives you a lot for the money. So it really is starting to blur the lines between, you know, a mainstream and a premium, and it's coming to a point where the premium brand only offers things like a better sound system, you know, nicer leather, and a badge. So if a badge means a lot to you, the Volvo is definitely worth the price. It's actually a really good deal for this segment, but if that doesn't matter to you, the Subaru is the one that's actually more capable, more fun to drive, and it's just a better all-around value, and it's probably going to be more reliable. But with all that said, I want to thank Keith for joining me in helping to film this comparison test between the Volvo and the Subaru. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.